Welcome to the Hardwood Hustle. And I know I've said before, we've got a special episode or a good episode. Well, I'm not sure if this is a good episode, but it's definitely a special episode for us. This is number 500 for the Hardwood Hustle. And so we are going to take our 500 top quotes we've ever had and share them. Just kidding. We're not going to do that. That sounds like way too much work. So we're not going to do that. And we're really not going to do anything crazy special because, one, we know you come to listen because you want some value added to you. And so we're not going to spend too much time reminiscing, thinking about things of the past. We're going to continue to try and add value to you as listeners while celebrating our 500th episode, because that's a big deal. I mean, anything that you've done 500 of, is a lot. And over the years, Hardwood Hustle has put in a lot of effort and a lot of time to hopefully help and provide you coaches a platform to get better, to get empowered, to get encouraged, to get inspired. So we are going to do a couple things to reflect, but also hopefully add value to you as listeners. So, hey, the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to model out for you what we do at our PGC and what we've done at Hardwood Hustle for a long time is some celebrations. And I think this is not just celebrations that you guys have to sit here and listen to, but something you could actually think about modeling with your team. You know, what does it look like to do celebrations? I do this with my team all of the time. And we've been doing this at PGC since it began. And it is powerful for building relationships in your company and for building a really good vibe and good energy. So we're going to kick off with some celebrations of things that we were thankful for over these 500 episodes. And you can see us give the celebration. You may not be able to see us, but maybe you can hear us snapping in the background. That's the way that we give just a little bit of acknowledgement and some celebration when somebody gives a celebration. So, hey, let's kick it off. Sam, why don't you start us off with just your first celebration, just something that you're thankful for over these years of Hardwood Hustle and what it's meant to you. And let's just start there.
Yeah, TJ. So my celebration would start with we get to do the Hardwood Hustle, the three of us. And, but it all started with Adam Bradley and Alan Stein way back in the day. And, I actually listened to the Hardwood Hustle prior to getting involved with it. And that's been an evolution we may talk about on here. But I celebrate Adam for having the vision to bring it to life and getting Alan to team up with and what they did in the early years to build an audience and a platform and ultimately allow us to do, something we love, which is help coaches and help leaders and talk about it on here. So celebrate Adam and Alan for their founding days of the Hardwood Hustle.
Absolutely. So we're snapping to that. Lisa, what about you? What are some thoughts and celebrations you have over the Hardwood Hustle?
Well, I was just thinking about, I guess, my journey to the Hardwood Hustle and how it started for me, just hearing about it and then tuning it on my podcast app. And I think as coaches, there's times where the coaching journey feels lonely. And I just remember whether it was an episode with Sam was a guest at the time, and TJ and you and Adam and whoever was on, I think there was just this feeling that I found people that believe what I believe about coaching and making an impact and doing it better every single day. And so I just celebrate what the Hardwood Hustle has been about for me and for a lot of coaches, that you find this community and the support and the encouragement to stay in the game, to be the best coach you can be, to help your players and make an impact for the right reasons. And knowing that's just more than the wins and losses. Like there's just more to this game and always a higher level that we can reach for. And so I just felt like as a young assistant coach trying to find my way, I was just really encouraged by the podcast. And I just still remember, like, I think it's one of those things where, who you invite into your headspace a little bit, like what podcasts you turn on, like that matters. And so I just don't take that for granted, being on it now myself. Still can't really believe that at times, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be part of it now. And I know that it's kind of a sacred thing, a little bit, being part of it and being on a podcast and sharing with coaches and what we do every time we turn the record button on. And so appreciate you guys inviting me to be part of it too.
Hey, we received your celebration. That's a celebration of TJ and Sam. Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
Always.
Yeah, that's the great celebration. Both of you, great celebrations. I think a celebration, gosh, I have so many of them. I think that just one, teammates, like I love having great teammates. And so appreciate the two of you and everyone else that's, been a part of this, the teammates that had an Adam. I celebrate that. I've just had a fun and great journey. Every day is a gift and an opportunity. Alan, for his part in the beginning of the Hardwood Hustle, did a great job. And, I think Hardwood Hustle has a legacy, 500 episodes. And I'm hoping the Hardwood Hustle goes on long after I'm done doing the Hardwood Hustle, or any of us, that it would just continue to be a place that educates, inspires, and encourages coaches. And I think that's a real true testament to my greatest celebration, which is our listeners. Like, this isn't possible without people, like you said, Lisa, that feel the same way, that want to get better at their craft, that want to make an impact in the basketball world, that use their coaching as a vessel to make a difference. And so I celebrate all of our listeners that have given us the time of day, that have given us encouragement too, because there's so many things, like coaching can be lonely. Surprisingly not, or not, that, a podcast can be lonely. You two people are talking, you don't see and hear everybody, but the people that reach out and give us encouragement, and I celebrate them for doing that. I mean, they've been big supporters, and this doesn't continue on. We don't put time and resources into it unless we actually have a family. And I think of our Hardwood Hustle family that has been just great supporters. So I just celebrate everybody for that as well. So, hey, look, those are our celebrations, and that's how we would do it with the team. That's how we would do it with our coaching staff. Going around and just giving gratitude and appreciation and thanks. Like, it's a really powerful thing. And hopefully you hear some of our inspiration, some of our excitement, because we do activities like this on a regular basis, where we are taking time to pause and celebrate the things that we've done well, even in the hard times, even in the times that might not be going so well, just to continue to celebrate and be thankful for the opportunities and the blessings that we do have. And so, hey, I want to move us on to a second part. So we just modeled some celebrations, and there's so many other people, PGC Coaching and PGC Basketball for supporting this. And we've had the Lead 'em Up that's been a big part of this for a long time. Like, there's just so many great contributors, to all of this. And so we could go on and on for celebrations for days, but we're just move on to the second part of this, which is a little bit of reflection. And the reflection in that is, what are some of our best learnings? Because I know not only we've been able to go out and be the teachers a little bit, we've also been the recipient of learning, of just being on the other end of meeting great people, of hearing other people's great voices, me hearing Sam or Lisa's ideas, or anybody that we've had on. Let's go there for a second. And when you reflect back on the Hardwood Hustle, on the last couple hundred episodes or whatever, what are some of your biggest learnings and growths that you've had going through the Hardwood Hustle?
TJ, I'll go first. I mean, we've had so many good guests. We've had some really good conversations. And I may get there in terms of highlighting a guest, but when you do a podcast, one thing you have to learn is how to articulate your points and your perspectives in an efficient way. And that makes you a better teacher, a better communicator, a better learner of things. And you're putting it out there, and you have to own it. And so it forces you to grow. And it's, so like, when you and I talk, or the three of us talk, these conversations challenge me. They force me to think more critically, be more open-minded, uncover my own blind spots. And so they ultimately grow me as a leader, and they expose where I may fall short, and then I have to go live it out and not be hypocritical. So I don't know. I just love the platform it provides to like create all the things I just said, and I think it. So maybe that's a selfish one because yeah, but that's what I would say to start us off.
Well, a good learning that I've had, I think, one is you never know as much as you think you know in some ways. Like, I I wish I was better at articulating some of my thoughts. And I think I walk away a lot of times from the Hardwood Hustle, one, either listening to you guys and coming up with something um, that I want to, put into my coaching or my leadership. But then even the way I share something, I think, wow, I need to dig deeper into that. I want to understand that at a deeper level, because I think sometimes on the podcast we're just beginning and we're creating insights that we then go and apply and figure out ourselves. And so I think there's always more to learn. That's one thing that just having guests on and people on is that there's more to learn, and that's a good thing. It's not about feeling bad about where you're at or the spot in your journey that you are. It's just that you just keep going and you stick with it. And I think that's another part about the Hardwood Hustle is it challenges me every week to get these episodes out. I think the consistency that you create, whether that's, if you're in coaching or you're, just year after year investing in something, I think we've invested just in the consistency of the Hardwood Hustle. It's challenged me and helped me to get better every single week. And so there's something special with that, just doing it every week, doing it with you guys, and just being open to learning every single time we jump on.
Yeah, and I think that's something that I've always strived for. And, every episode is that coaches can get something they can use, and there's something they can take away, the way we can support you as a coach in your journey, because we talked about it earlier. It just can be a lonely journey sometimes, and everybody needs that support and everybody wants to get better. When I think about the change that's happened over Hardwood Hustle, I think it's interesting for coaches. I'd be curious to know is if they even recognize this. But, when Adam and I were talking about next steps to the show, and Adam was thinking about going all in with his lead 'em up, and he was leaving his full-time job, and he had a whole bunch of stuff going on. And, he was like, what is the next thing for the Hardwood Hustle? Because you always got to continue to evolve and to grow. And it was actually Adam that had a great idea. He said, I think the next evolution is more basketball. He said, because when, prior when he was here, like his expertise was leadership, and it was hard to have, and I know leadership too, because I have to lead a team, right? We all have some experience with leadership, but basketball, besides being a solid pickup player, that was Adam's extent of basketball. And he's a big fan, but he would rather talk leadership and culture and growth and all that kind of stuff. He said, I think you need to start talking more basketball. And that's when we decided, and Sam came on, and Sam had, leadership and culture and all that, but basketball as well. And so I don't know if listeners would even be aware that I'd say the last 150 episodes have had more basketball in it, more what do you do in transition? How do you manage a game? How do you do, which weren't always things that we talked about prior. And so there's been a little bit of an evolution, and it would be neat to know if the listener just kind of gradually knew that happened, or if they even were aware that happened. So I want to reflect on a couple of just special moments that we've had. And one, Lisa, you hooked up Tony Bennett for an episode, and I know that was a highlight of mine, because when I think of anybody that I would like to interview like Tony Bennett, I just think he exudes the right things of this sport, the way that he does it, the way he shows up. And there was so many rich learnings in that. But for me, one of the richest learnings in that episode was just the care and compassion that he shows up with. Like, he was just there to do the same thing we were all here to do: help a coach, inspire a coach, empower a coach. And we've had a lot of people over time that have done that same thing, but that was a highlight for me. And so I want to transition into some other highlights, and I've got several of them that I'd like to share, but that's the first one, is just the highlight of Tony Bennett, and of being on and being able to see that not only is he great at what he does, he's real. And he's who I think a lot of coaches should aspire to show up like.
Okay, I got two.
Yep.
Jumping in. One, this question's been on my mind a lot with, we've had Doug Lamov on, and he's wrote helping teachers get better at teaching and now helping coaches get better at teaching. And one of his things that I think we reflect on, like in coaching, we can have a lot of opinions, we can have a lot of feelings. And one of his questions for coaches to reflect is to ask yourself, how do you know? So if you're like, oh, our transition offense is great. How do you know? I'm a really good teacher and communicator. How do you know? Like being critical and looking at our coaching or looking at our opinions or looking at the way we do things and just saying, how do we know? How do we know? That question's been on my mind, and it stems from that episode that we had with Doug Lamov a couple years ago. And then my next one, which is a highlight for me, is Kirsten Moore. And she was an NAIA coach at Westmont. They're actually going Division II now. And one of her encouragements for coaches at the end of that episode was to really love your players. And I think so often we want to check the box and say, hey, I'm going to support my player. I'm going to make sure that they feel valued because I want to win more games. And, like, here's the things with our culture or leadership, whatever they may be, because I want to win more games. How can we be better next year? And I think she just, the root of her coaching is, how do I love my players well? And then if that leads to winning national championships, which she's done, great. And I think that's where I want my coaching to start from, is like a genuine love of people, love of my players, fellow staff mates, like trying to be the best servant leader I can be. And I don't think that's easy to do. So if we ever think like, oh yeah, we just do this thing and it's great. Like, no, that's like a transformation that happens in us first. If we want to be a transformational leader, we have to do that work on the inside. And we've talked about that a lot, the inside job. I know Sam's used that phrasing before. And so those are just two really big ones for me.
And Lisa, we also got a lot of great feedback on the one you cried on. I don't remember if they remember that.
Oh,
like, I don't know if that was a highlight for you or not, but I think a lot of coaches loved hearing that emotion. I remember having Randy Peterson on here and her battle with cancer and all that she was going through. It was a really emotional one for me as well. And I've enjoyed some of the ones that were just emotional, where you could feel the heart of the person that we were talking to, whether it was us or whether it was somebody, a guest that we had on. But just kind of feeling what coaches go through and where their hearts are, I think those are always really powerful too. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, TJ, this is a great exercise doing this, and it forces us to pause and reflect. Just a quick reference to some of the ones y'all have already spoke to. So like 377 was Doug Lamov, and Tony Bennett was episode 398. Kirsten Moore was 402. But TJ, for me, I'm a big words of affirmation guy for all our love language folks out there. And it honestly means a lot to me when I get a text message or an email or even a mention on social media to an episode having a big impact on somebody who listened. So that really fills my cup, because like we already said, you and I, the three of us, we get on a Zoom or on a video call to record these, and we're just looking at each other. And you don't get immediate feedback. You don't even know, like, are 5 people listening or 500? We know we can look at numbers and know that we do. We're fortunate and blessed to have a good, healthy audience out there from around the globe. But those are just numbers to us. So let me speak for myself. When I get feedback through a text, email, or mention on social media, it just means a lot to me. And it could have took that person 10 seconds. It could be one sentence. But that really inspires me and reminds me of why we do what we do. So I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah. And Sam always shares those. And whenever we get those from our listeners, we share them with each other. And I mean, encouragement. I mean, honestly, it makes you show up for the next show better, because you realize, gosh, this does make an impact. Like you said, we can look at the numbers and see thousands of people are listening to the show, But at the same time, like just sometimes that one word of encouragement, I think that speaks volumes to maybe even our voice as a coach to our players. Like that word matters, even though you're not good at it. You're not good at giving those compliments or encouragement. Like it does really matter. Hey, I want to go over just a few different episodes, like just looking back over the past 100 or so. And because I always think it's important to like, you heard something, but maybe go back and listen to it again, because those nuggets, you need to make sure that you got them down. And we've talked about so many different topics. I'm not even saying go back and listen to these shows, but I just want to go over some of the topics we've done. One that's immediately sticks out recently is Bob Starkey. I think when the women's national championship game, Bob Starkey's a good friend of ours, so it was hard not to pull for them. But also, Lisa Bluter and her whole staff there. Rick Torbett has been out there and worked with them numerous times on the Read and React offense. I've been out there and met them. What great coaches, how gracious they are. So rooting for both. But Bob is one of the best givers to the game. He did a phenomenal job in both those episodes. We just get raving feedback about how much value he adds. So we might go something like, the scouting edge with Bob Starkey to is there room for trash talk in the game of basketball? Talked about building blocks as coaches, about making a coaching move, like things that are just not even basketball related. Like, what about your job? We talk about building great team habits, all the way to in-game decisions, to great interviews with people that kind of think and want to make an impact. From our directors at PGC, Marquis and Micah and Graham have so much value to add to the game. And Dustin, his one on offense was off the charts. People just absolutely loved all the offensive talk, and we're going to get him back on as well. If you have, follow him on social media, the offensive plays that he puts out there and the thought process. What about if you got fired? Look, this hit home with a lot of coaches when they lost their job and they got fired. And here's a community to be able to talk about that. That's who we want to be there for, those coaches that need that, throughout their coaching career, because probably all of us are going to need it at some point. And then executing better practices. We had Cody Royal, who I just loved his thoughts on what to do with star players and how to manage them. John Leonzo talking about the dribble drive offense. Our great friend Matt Saman in the Leftovers book that he wrote, which is a phenomenal book. If you haven't read it, about his time at Baylor and all that went down there. Talk about things that are happening right now, the shot clock in high school basketball as it's coming. What are some ways to manage that with this new journey? We've reflected on some of my times in the season and things that we're going through as a team. There is just we've talked about some NBA issues. What do we do with things that are going on? What they're setting, the example they're setting. Creating forever teammates was a really good one, and we had a guest on for that. I enjoy hearing that. Kevin Sutton, when he was at Florida Gulf Coast, who just went on a great run with Kansas State, and how to make better competitors. Gosh, man, when I look back on this, like there's just so many really fun episodes that we've had the opportunity to do. And, look, I think it's a treasure trove of just good information for coaches to go back. And if you're looking or you're searching in one of those areas, go to the website, pick out an episode, or go to iTunes or whatever it is and say, man, I need to think about this. Because in 500 episodes, we've covered a lot of topics of things that coaches think about, deal with, do, that honestly, all three of us have been through, that Mono's been through, that any of our directors have been through, our coaching guests have been through. So, I think it's just a testament to a bunch of people that want to give back to the game and make it better for coaches. And we've had plenty of guests and plenty of episodes where we've been able to dive into that. Next thing that, I want to put out there, I want to put out a couple things for our listeners. Listeners, we'd love to hear what episodes you'd like to hear. What are things that you want to talk about? Because the Hardwood Hustle was never meant to be about us. It was meant to be about you. And what are the things that you want to talk about? So don't ever hesitate to send us those things, a DM or put it on social media or whatever. That, hey, we'd love to hear an episode on this, because we want to talk about the things that are relevant and important to you. Another thing that we'd love for you to do, we never ask for this, but hey, we'd love for you to give us a review on iTunes or whatever it is it helps us and it helps the show. And long time ago, I think first couple hundred episodes, that was asked for a lot. And I think it's been hundreds of episodes since we've asked for it again. But we'd love for your reviews and take a time. If you've benefited from the Hardwood Hustle, give us a review on iTunes or tweet it out on social media or whatever, because if it's helping you, find somebody else that it can help too. That's what we're all here for, is to continue to grow a community of helping, coaches around. But hey, listen, this is a shorter episode because we just didn't want to go too long on nostalgia and celebrating everything that's going on. We hope we could still add a little bit of value in 500. But really, at the end of the day, there's just like one huge celebration. Nothing like this ever happens. You don't do 500 episodes. You don't invest this time or energy or money or any of it in if you don't have a great group of listeners. So for all of you that have been along for the ride, whether it's been 5 episodes, 50 episodes, or maybe all 500. If anybody's listened to all 500 episodes, you need to put that on social media. We got to know that, and we got to send you something. Don't lie about it. Tell the truth now. Listen to one of our episodes about telling the truth, but hit us up if you've listened to all of those. We definitely will send you a gift for that, and we're just really appreciative. So before we part here, Sam and Lisa, any final thoughts on the gratitude we feel on this 500th episode?
It's funny. I'm still going to school. I don't know why. I'm doing a lot of things right now, but one of the things I'm doing is going to school and getting a theology degree. And I say that because I just want to share that, like, one of the things that I've been able to do and reflect on in some of my assignments, and I just wrote a paper on it. And I think it's what we do as coaches matters. And it matters, I think, even more right now, just where our culture is, where our society is. And it's easy sometimes to forget our why. I know we talk about that a lot, but I just want to remind coaches, like, how we show up every day, how we impact just the few, even if it's one player one day or 15 players, or maybe you're running a whole program and you got 60 or more and coaches, like, how we invest in other people, how we encourage, how we live out our values is just so important for the world today. And I think, like, that's what we have to do right now. Like, it's not oh, I think I'm going to be a nice guy today or whatever. Like, no, this is who we're supposed to be, and challenging ourselves to be that best version of ourselves every single day, because I just think there's so many negative influences in our culture, and we just need great coaches, great teachers, great people leading well and leading with their hearts, and just loving people where they're at. And so however we do that, I'm just reminded about how important that is. And I think that's one of the things I love about the Hardwood Hustle. One, because I know you guys do that, and so you're an encouragement and an influence to me in a positive way. But just how we all do that is part of the light. PGC wants to be a light in the basketball world. I mean, that's part of what we're doing. Even just that little bit of light, it makes a difference.
Drop the mic. End it right there. Well said, Lisa. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add to what y'all two said really well. The only thing I think about is, are we going to be sitting here at episode 1000, or maybe even 600? That's the next big mark.
Just trying to make it to 501, Sam.
One day at a time, Sam, one day at a time. But hey, listen, Alan, thank you. Adam, thank you. Sam, thank you. Lisa, thank you. Mono, thank you. And really the biggest thanks of all, again, to our listeners. We enjoy doing this. I mean, I hope you all know that we enjoy doing this. We enjoy being on the radio or listen on your phone or whatever it is where you listen to your episodes. We're thankful to be a part of what you're doing. And we wouldn't do it if we didn't understand how important it is. Like, we don't do this to hear ourselves talk. We do this because we love the game of basketball, and we love coaches, and we love the people you're coaching, and we want the goodness of this game to shine through. And that's why the Hardwood Hustle is here. And so, hey, coaches, she is Lisa, he is Sam, I am TJ, we are the Hardwood Hustle.
Thanks again for tuning into this episode of the Hardwood Hustle, where we believe in the value of a coach. Be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at Hardwood_Hustle to stay up to date on the latest episodes and share your thoughts with our coaching community. From the Hardwood Hustle team, thanks again. We can't wait to be with you again next week.